Hey friends, it is Lane with Tim's Nation. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the Ultramarines and the Librarius Conclave detachment that I'm running today. So the reason I'm doing this list and the reason I chose these units is because after the GT I played in a couple weeks ago, I'm really tired of my opponents making their saves. And once again, if you're a longtime watcher of the channel, you'll know that back before they took our Death Watch away and brought them back to us, I was playing a list that focused on Death Watch doing dev wounds with the full rerolls to wound. On Stern Guard, you know what? It's got to come back. I'm tired of my opponents making saves. I don't want them to make their 2-ups, their 4-up invulns. I'm tired of it. So I made a list today that is just about doing dev wounds and mortal wounds and all that sort of business. So pretty much everything I took is based around that. I don't think this is a super competitive list. It probably needs a few more scoring units in there, but it does just have a lot of dev wounds. So I don't care what DJ's running. He's not going to get to make saves. And it just so happens that he's running Grey Knights, which is an entirely 2-up armor save army. So guess what? No saves for him. I mean, I'm going to make him take some saves. But yeah, so the Librarius Conclave for Ultramarines. First of all, running Ultramarines for a couple reasons. To really get the dev wounds out there, I'm going to take a bunch of Stern Guard. And Stern Guard are best into the Oath of Moment targets, so we might as well make sure we've got 2 Oath of Moment targets, so we're running Ultramarines. Also, the +1 to wound meshes well with Librarius, although this is not really like I said, not a competitive Librarius list. I don't have that much close combat in here, but I'm really interested in experimenting with Blade Guard and Librarius because they can get the +1 or 2 strength with the stratagem. There aren't a lot of Space Marine detachments that can give you extra strength on Blade Guard because the strength 5 is what really holds them back, in my opinion. In Liberator Assault Group and Blood Angels, they can get that +2 strength on the charge, which really makes a big difference when they go from strength 5 to strength 7. But it turns out Librarius has a stratagem that lets you give them +1 strength or +2 if you're in a certain discipline. But even just +1 going from strength 5 to strength 6 is kind of a huge break point for them, especially when if they're led by a chaplain or they're in Ultramarines and they get +1 to wound in the Oath target, there you can get +1 to wound. It really means into the higher toughness things like toughness 10 and 11 that they'll be wounding on 4s, and just with a high volume of attacks they get at AP 2 damage, they can actually do some work. But I'm not bringing them today. I'm still marinating on a competitive Librarius list because I think there's some play in there. I just haven't quite cracked it yet. But today's Librarius is just devastating wounds and mortal wounds and just want to make my opponent go away and not give them the opportunity to make saves. A couple of the ways we're going to kick out some dev wounds here. First of all, and most importantly, is 30 Stern Guard. We've got 30 Stern Guard, each 10-man led by a Librarian. And one of them, of course, has the enhancement that gives them anti-vehicle monster 5-up, meaning that the Stern Guard's dev wounds will proc on 5. Now, Stern Guard, I'm taking the Stern Guard bolters, not the combi weapons, the Stern Guard bolters. They're 2 shots apiece and 3 shots when they get within 12 inches, and they have dev wounds. And so, of course, Stern Guard reroll all wounds into the Oath target, meaning I can fish for those devastating wounds. And the unit that has the enhancement will be proccing those on 5s when they shoot a vehicle or monster, meaning they should kick out just a ton of dev wounds. DJ did me the courtesy of bringing a Land Raider today, so hopefully I can drop them in on the Land Raider and see if we can make that really cook. But Stern Guard, anyways, they just, with all the number of shots they get, 3 shots apiece when they're in rapid fire range. And of course, the heavy bolters are 2 damage dev wounds as well. And the fact that they're re-rolling wounds means we can just fish for those. So we've got 30 Stern Guard. We got a few other things in here. For scoring units, we got Jump Back Intercessors. Jump Back Intercessors do impact mortals when they complete a charge. So there's a couple mortals they can kick out there. We do have a Brutalis Dreadnought because he does impact mortals. And for a CP, I can have him do tank shock as well. We do have a Gladiator Reaper because it does, it's got a twin-linked heavy onslaught Gatling cannon. So that does dev wounds and it's twin-linked, so we can kick out some. Let's see here. I think that's mostly it for all the dev wound output. The fact is we can throw grenades for a CP, and the Librarius detachment has, I forget what it's called, there's a stratagem that's just basically a psychic grenade that lets a Librarian throw grenades at 18 inches, and it's really good too. So we just have a bunch of different ways we can kick out dev wounds and mortals, and I don't care what kind of saves my opponent has, unless it's a feel no pain, it's just going to go right on through. So let's go through the actual list, and then we'll get into some more specifics here. So this is today's Ultramarines and the Librarius. If you are new to the channel, you'll notice that my Ultramarines are very, 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 very dark blue, almost black, some would say. It's because I'm a Death Watch player, but I do like playing some other armies. So a lot of times you'll see my Death Watch being played as Ultramarines or occasionally Dark Angels, and a lot of times Blood Angels as well. Today they're going to run as Ultramarines, and just to make sure everything is kind of uniform, I painted my Rabute Gilliman is painted in black as well, so he matches the rest of my Death Watch. Librarians are still blue, but here it is. Here's the actual list. All right, friends, this is 1,995 points of Ultramarines in the Librarius Conclave detachment. To kick things off, we do have Rabute Gilliman, who's got to be our Warlord, of course. He went down a couple points. His reducing a strat by 1 CP cost thing has been limited to once per battle round now. That's fine. That's reasonable. And he doesn't stack with Marneus Calgar very well, because Rabute Gilliman must be the Warlord if he's in your army, and Marneus Calgar must be the Warlord if you want to get his CP gens. So we don't have Marneus today, just Gilliman. But because I'm running 30 Stern Guard, I definitely want to have 2 Oath of Moment targets, so that's why we've got him in the list today. Of course, Gilliman is a pretty strong fighter as well, and punches pretty hard. He's got his lone op when he's within 3 inches of a Space Marine infantry unit, so we're going to try and keep him safe till later in the game, but he can do a lot of work with his attacks as well. And of course, the free strats will be helpful. Free tank shock, free grenades, that sort of thing. We're just going to try and kick out as many mortal wounds as we can, so we'll be trying to take full advantage of that. We also have Uriel Ventress, because I do want to give the Stern Guard that have the Librarian with the Fusillade enhancement, I do want to give them Deep Strike so they can get close to their target and take it apart. So we do have him. Ventress will not be joining a unit today. I just don't have a unit for him to join. Again, this isn't a super competitive build. I would prefer to have him joining company heroes or just regular intercessors, but he's just standing by himself today. So we'll keep him hidden, and he'll keep Gilliman give Gilliman his lone op ability. And then we do have a lieutenant with combi weapon. He's here for scoring purposes and to give us those wound rerolls on an objective, but he also does have a combi weapon, so he can kick out 1 or maybe even 2 dev wounds if he shoots an infantry unit. So we'll see. But a good scoring piece, of course. He is lone op and has infiltrate, and he does have a 6-inch counter move if you move within 9 inches of him, so he'll be handy. And moving on, we do have 3 Librarians today. So I'm using 3 basic Librarians. You'll see the Tigurius model in here, but he's not being used as Tigurius today. But we will make him the one with the enhancement. Now, of course, Librarians give their unit an invuln save, which is kind of great. Space Marines with a 4-up invuln really changes their durability, especially if we're talking like 10-man bricks of Stern Guard or Hellblasters or Intercessors or Assault Intercessors. When they go to a 4-up invuln, their durability gets there. It also can save you some CP, because a lot of times you're not tempted to spend it on Armor Contempt. If somebody's hitting them with AP2 or something, you just got that 4-up invuln to rely on. And of course, they give them a 4-up Feel No Pain to psychic attacks, and it's actually going to be relevant today when we're playing into Grey Knights. They have some psychic weapons they're going to be putting into us. Now, of course, we're using them because they were taking the Librarius detachment. There are a bunch of different disciplines they can be in at different times. I forgot my cheat sheet. I forgot to bring my cheat sheet, so I'm going to have to review those a little bit. But basically, throughout the game, at the beginning of every battle round, I choose a discipline that the Librarian units will be in. The ones I'm going to be focusing on at first will be the extra AP in the targets that are within 12 inches. Just because that procs off the enhancement as well. So one of the Librarians does have the Fusillade enhancement. That gives his units shooting attacks anti-infantry and it's not anti-infantry, I'm sorry, anti-vehicle, anti-monster 5-up, which means that the dev wounds on the Stern Guard proc on 5s, and of course Stern Guard reroll all wounds, so it's super strong for them. That is why they made it a 40 or a 35 point enhancement now. And it's also kind of nice because when I am in the pyromancy discipline, they do get sustained as well. So they'll be, when they come in, and if we're in pyromancy, which is the extra AP into targets within 12 inches, they will be at AP 2, and they will be getting sustained 1 when they're shooting. So that's a pretty strong enhancement to have. It's the only one I have in the army today, just because I didn't. There's some pretty good advance and charge and no overwatch enhancements too, but I just don't really have them in any units. Unfortunately, librarians can't lead Blade Guard, which is where I really want to put those enhancements. So, but that's what we've got today. So those are our characters. Moving on, we do have, let's get to the big show here, guys. We got 30 Stern Guard, 3 10-mans of Stern Guard. Our job today is mortal wounds. These guys got dev wounds on their guns, their bolters, and their heavy bolters, and they get to reroll wounds into oath targets. So they're just going to be fishing for those 6s because we don't want our opponent to be making any saves today. They also get 4 attacks apiece in combat, and the sergeant does have a 4-attack power fist, meaning when they get +1 to wound into the oath target, and they get full rerolls to hit and wound, they can do a lot of wounds. They can cause a lot of wounds. Even if it's just AP 0-1 damage, they're still going to get a lot of wounds through into oath targets. So it'll be fun to see if they can actually do that past the 2-up armors they're facing today. But yeah, 30 Stern Guard. If you're a long-time watcher of the channel, it's been a while since I had my Death Watch Stern Guard on the table. We've taken 30 of those. So I'm glad to have 30 of them back on the table here. I do have a repulsor to put a squad of those in to get them into good position to be using their guns. So we've got a repulsor. The repulsor, I'm not really excited about its damage output. It's got a bunch of small shots in its defensive array. It's got 1 twin-linked las cannon and 2 shots from a strength 9 or 10 las fusel. Let me see here. Ranged weapons. Yeah, the las talent's got 2 shots at strength 10, AP 3, D6 plus 1. The strength 10 is still not great. If we're going in the oath target, getting +1 to wound, then it starts to get kind of efficient into vehicles. But really, it's mostly just the defensive array because it's got 18 shots from the defensive array. All strength 4, AP 0-1 damage, but it is just a lot of them. It also has a Hunter Slayer missile, which is indirect. It's a Hunter Killer missile that's indirect, strength 14, AP 3, D6 damage. So fun. Maybe we'll shoot behind a wall or something. I don't know. But it does have transport capacity of 14, I believe, so they can take a lot of guys in it. And of course, we'll want that for our squad. Man, if drop pods had transport capacity 11, 12, I'd be running those. But no, we've got to have a repulsor here. It is toughness 12 with 16 wounds. It's a 3-up armor save. That's not great, but it will be kind of hard to do some damage to it. Continuing on, doing some mortal wounds, we do have a Gladiator Reaper. So the Gladiator Reaper, it gets sustained 2 on its twin-linked assault cannon or Gatling cannon when it goes into an infantry target. So it does have the ability, especially if it's shooting an oath target, to get a lot of hits. That heavy onslaught Gatling cannon has 12 shots and twin linked, so it will get a ton of shots and can do dev wounds. And it's twin linked naturally, so it can scrape a few. Even if it's not an infantry target, it can do some dev wounds, but just gets that extra sustain too. There's also a bunch of small bolter shots and a stubber on it, so it does have a fair number of shots. Into the 2-up armor, it's not going to do much, so we're just going to be fishing for dev wounds there. And then we do have a Brutalis Dreadnought. I haven't used the Brutalis Dreadnought much, but in my list, it's all about dev wounds. He does do impact mortals. So whenever he completes a charge, on a D6, if I roll a 2 or 3, the opponent suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 4 or 5, it takes 3. And on a 6, it's D3 plus 3. So I can couple that with a tank shock and do a fair amount of dev wounds and mortal wounds on the charge. Of course, he does hit nice and hard too in combat. His Brutalis fists, we've got the Brutalis talons here, and they are, the strike is strength 6, attack strength 12, AP2, 3 damage, and they're twin linked, meaning we can get some efficiency there. If we're going into the oath target, obviously that's going to get pretty good with the hit rerolls. He does have a twin link multi-melta on him as well. But really, like I said, guys, we're here for the impact damage. Hopefully we save some CP so that when he does his natural impact damage, we can add on the tank shock to that and really do some mortal wounds there. And then finally, just for scoring purposes, we got 2 5-man jump intercessors. We all know these guys are great. 12-inch movement, of Marines. They have some fighting, a few pistols on them, but they do impact mortals, so just stick with the theme of doing dev wounds and mortal wounds. These guys, when they complete a charge, for each one that gets an engagement range, you roll a d6. On a 4-up, they do a mortal. Just another avenue for mortal wounds, guys. So that is it. That is the list. Yeah, unfortunately, I forgot my cheat sheet. I made this whole page thing of all the different librarian disciplines. I just realized that now that I don't have it with me, so I'm going to have to double check and study on that. I'm actually not planning to use too many of the different disciplines because we're really just focusing on the Stern Guard, because that's the only place we've got any librarians. A few of the strats can be used within 18 inches of a librarian unit, so I could give, say, the jump intercessors +1 or +2 strength in combat, which could be a little bit relevant, on their strength 4 chainswords. Yeah, but that's it. So I just want to kick out the devs. I'm not really worried about winning. I just want DJ to not get the chance to make any saves because I'm tired of people making saves. We're going to have to go. You're going to have to follow me over to the battle report. We'll see how it does, because this really is an army that I'm playing into, the Grey Knights, where they all have 2-up armor. So the saves are going to be very relevant. So the things that don't do dev wounds or don't do mortals, it's going to be hard to get through all that armor. But yeah, I think the Librarians has some competitive play. I don't think this is the list. This is just my fun list for this. But we're going to see. I should probably keep a tally to see how many devs and mortals I do throughout the game. So throw it in the comments there. How many devs and mortals do you think I'm going to do? Just as how many mortals and devs combined do you think we're going to do? I think throughout the game, I'm going to say 75. Throughout the game, we're going to do 75 dev wounds and mortals. I think that's a pretty bold wager there, but I feel like we can do it with the units we have. So follow me over. Throw in the comments here how many dev wounds you think I'm going to do, and then follow us over to the actual battle report. Let's see what happens. All right, guys. Have a good one.